All right. The Mariners have taken their first loss of 2026. Season's over. I'm just kidding. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And that's right, Mariners spring training game 2 out of 32 in the books. First loss of 2026 spring training comes to the Giants. Doubled our run total 10 to 5. All of the Mariners' runs in this game were scored with just one out, or actually, the first one was scored with no outs in the entire game. All were in the first inning. Then four on the Mastrobuoni grand salami with one out in the first inning. So you end up having one, basically, one out. You can get 5 runs, and then 26 next outs, no runs, no capitalizing off of that. But do the results matter? No. Our motto for spring training: reps over results. And the Mariners got some good reps today. We're going to talk about the reps really and what those mean. The main ones we want to talk about today, I mean, obviously Miles Mastrobuoni just swinging a really hot bat. Cole Young, who is just looking really advanced right now, looking exactly like the league model darling that we were hearing the reports about in the Athletic during the offseason. And Emerson Hancock looks like he might have fixed his fastball with the thing that we've been talking about, the cutting edge to use, which is going to become, a little bit of a pun here because it is having to do with cutters, and it's going to change pitching in the year 2026 in the MLB. So if you are excited to hear about the cutting edge stuff that's going on in spring training that you can watch, go ahead and drop a like on this stream. Go ahead and put any questions, any comments you have about the game today in the chat. Would love to get some discussion going on so that I can interact with you guys and we can all have a discussion about the Mariners post game because let's face it, Mariners TV looks like they're not going to be doing post games during spring training, at least for spring training. And we know that I think Brad Adam and Angie Mentink are back with Mariners TV, so we should be getting those pregame, post games in some capacity during the regular season. But as of right now, there's not a whole lot of information about that. So we're going to fill the void. We're going to get the pregame and postgame going. Let's get this chat going. Throw some comments, anything you saw during the game. We're going to talk about everything from, the 5 runs that we scored in the first inning with Mastrobuoni's grand salami, all the way down to Brennan Davis getting a little hustle double that really would be an error at the end of the game. We're just going to be talking about everything. Go ahead and put anything in the chat you want to talk about, and we will talk about it all. But really starting out here, the Mariners, it's funny because they were actually outdoing the Giants, out hitting the Giants on expected batting average. For most of this game, you can see right here, Giants have the 235 expected batting average. Mariners have 221. And to be honest, the sun played a huge role today. Yesterday, we did have confirmed by Adam Jude to us on Twitter, the main Seattle Times Mariners beat writer right now. We had him confirm that the sun is brutal out there in Peoria. Yesterday, the Padres were losing a lot of balls in the sun. Today, it was not just one team, both teams losing balls in the sun, and Rick Riz made a point, especially later in the game, that the sun was just brutal and was having a huge effect on the fielding in this game. And we saw it. This game got extended, on the very last out, what should have been the last out, by the Giants second baseman on Brennan Davis. And then it ends up getting, a lot of innings end up getting extended because of that. But really, the main things we want to talk about, starting with Miles Mastrobuoni, swinging a hot bat right now. He's just looking good. He goes and he hammers the first pitch of his at-bat, his first at-bat, out to, he just hammers it out to right field, hits a grand slam. He has the guys on base. He decides, I'm going to take a hack. He ends up getting a good pitch from Hayden Birdsong to hit. And, we said in the pregame, Hayden Birdsong is a major league pitcher. He's a little bit of a tweener between a starter and a reliever. So you just want to take some good at-bats against this righty that has some pretty decent pitches. Nothing too crazy. Pretty much a standard pitch mix, 4 pitches, like fastball, slider, two-seam, stuff like that. And he gets up there, 9th at-bat of the game, 9th plate appearance on Baseball Savant if you want to go look at that. Throws a 4-seam fastball up and in to Miles Mastrobuoni. Mastrobuoni just basically uppercuts it, puts it in the seats. 28-degree launch angle, 381 feet. 900 expected batting average. That thing was a homer in, let's see how many major league ballparks. 18 out of 30 major league ballparks, that would have been a homer in. So Mastrobuoni, do we expect Miles Mastrobuoni to be hitting grand slams, let alone swinging first pitch and trying to hit home runs during the regular season? Definitely not. We don't even expect him necessarily to make the team. And does this change that? No. It does make him look really good and make him a more viable option for the Mariners in 2026 whenever they might need him. So shout out to Miles Mastrobuoni. He has the other tools, right? He has the speed tool. He has the grittiness tool. He's the type of guy you expect to come in and get his his jersey dirty. You expect that he's going to be, playing hard, be a utility guy and, kind of fill in a lot of those different positions. He can play third base if need be. If there starts to be some injuries piling up and stuff, but being a lefty really squeezes Mastrobuoni out of this team right now, especially with the addition of super utility lefty Brendan Donovan. Almost fills that role, but is just an all-star version of that. So it's gonna be tough for Miles to get really any run in the big leagues this season, but if and when he does, maybe he will be ready. We've seen crazier things happen than Miles Mastrobuoni being a contributor on a team like the Mariners. Anyway, so Miles Mastrobuoni, good for him. He is his OPS, right? 2750 OPS for Miles Mastrobuoni in spring training. Also had a hustle double today. There's really not a whole lot more you can expect from Miles Mastrobuoni. You just hope that he ends up playing well during spring training, and when he's needed, when he gets that chance, that some of that carries over into the big leagues, into the majors this season. There's not anything that you can take from this that's too concrete, though, except that he's confident. Hacking first pitch grand slam, not something that we expect to carry over. But shout out to Miles Mastrobuoni. Moving on, I feel like I said his name so many times just now. Real mouthful. But moving on, we got to talk about Cole Control the Zone Young, because this guy is every bit of the league model darling that the Athletic was saying he was this offseason. He is every bit of the Control the Zone monster that the Mariners thought he was when they drafted him. They developed him like this, and he looks like he could be the next J.P. Crawford in terms of being a guy who hits a little bit lower in the lineup, but sets the table for everybody else from the back end, or quite frankly from wherever he ends up hitting, because he looks so calm. I don't think I was as calm today watching any of our hitters as I was watching Cole Young. He works long at bats, 8-pitch walk in his first at bat. His second at bat, he works another walk, and then his third pitch, he takes a whole bunch of pitches and gets to a full count, ends up getting something on the edge that gets called a strike. But he was close to having 3 straight walks to begin this game. So Cole Young, somebody who, I just think he's more advanced than we are giving him credit for. The fact that he ended up with like a 211 batting average in 2025, I don't think that has any real bearing on what he's going to be producing this year. I think he's definitely, when he was getting consistent run in the team, he was up hovering around 250, even almost at a 260 batting average at times this season. The max exit velocities could be a little bit fluky with that one massive, I think the longest home run any Mariner hit this entire season, or this entire past season. But it's like he has definitely some power that he's going to grow into. He's athletic. He's really good at controlling the zone. And I think he can be like a 9-year Mariner. I think he can be definitely the 6 years that you have of him under club control. I think he can be, like I've said, somewhere in the top half of second baseman in the MLB. Like if you can get kind of an 8 to 15, top 7 to 15 second baseman outcome out of Cole Young season to season, that's basically the JP of second baseman is kind of where I see Cole Young right now as an asset for this team this year and in the future. And even JP, when he was coming up, he was a little bit streaky, but when he was really making great contact, it was working out. I think Cole Young might be a guy with a little more power than JP. That comp is not exactly perfect, but you probably get the point of what I'm saying. Let me know down in the chat what you think of that comp. Can Cole Young be the new JP for this team, and be that kind of table setting, control the zone force, and honestly do part of what Ben Williamson was doing when need be, when the top guys in our lineup. You have the rule of five. The rule of five. Shout out to the Athletics Rates and Barrows podcast. Eno Saris, Derek Van Riper. They talk about this a whole lot. One of the better baseball podcasts out there. But the rule of five when building a baseball lineup, you have 9 spots in the lineup. You want 5 everyday guys, ideally. And the Mariners now have that, especially with Brendan Donovan, who's going to be an everyday guy. I mean, obviously, as you start out, you got Julio, you got Cal, you got Naylor, you got Randy. And that's your 4, right? And then you consider Donovan an everyday guy, that's 5. I mean, JP kind of, that could even be 6. But you do want at least, it's really, you want at least 5. It's good to have more, but you want those everyday guys that you can build the lineup around. And then you can have the other 3 to 4 spots to rotate platoon guys in, take advantage of matchups. And the Mariners have those spots. DH, you got Canzone and Refsnyder. And, there'll be more discussions that I think we need to have about the DH position. I've been a huge proponent, even before we signed Refsnyder, of signing him and making an elite platoon at DH with Canzone and Refsnyder. You do have Cal, who's going to DH occasionally, right? He's going to DH on most of his off days, and then there's one day a week where you might have to use a Canzone or a Refsnyder in the outfield, stuff like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as spring progresses. Haven't seen Refsnyder yet this spring, but there was the Cade Anderson live BP today that got, honestly, more buzz than the actual game, it feels like. But getting back to the actual game, Cole Young, controlling the zone a lot. This guy's going to be a starter in this lineup for a reason. There's a reason the Mariners believe in him so much. And I think it shows today on the eye test alone, just how calm you can kind of feel watching Cole Young at the plate, knowing that he's not going to, swing at one of the first few pitches and risk it all. He's not going to try to win or lose the game by himself. He is going to be a guy that accents the rest of the team and gives the team a chance, rather than being, we're going to live and die by the sword of Cole Young. No, that's absolutely not what we're going to have to do, and that's what's good. Emerson Hancock's fastball, I got to talk about a little bit, because that was the first thing that jumped out to me even before we got to the second inning. The bottom of the first, where the Mariners scored all of their runs on the day. Top of the first inning, Emerson Hancock comes out. He's throwing 96, 97 on his four-seam fastball and his sinker, I believe, as well. And he ends up with 9 swinging strikes, I want to say. Emerson Hancock throwing up a whole lot of swinging strikes. 9 whiffs. That is really impressive. 9 swinging strikes on 37 pitches. That is a really elite level. And he gets 7 on the four-seam fastball. 7 swinging strikes on 13 four-seam fastballs. That will absolutely play. He's throwing that thing up in the zone and full of confidence as well. He's got his low arm slot. That's the Mariners type, and that's what the Mariners teach. And the coolest thing about it to me, though, is if we look at the horizontal break, it's funny because it says, 10 inches of horizontal break for Emerson Hancock on the four-seam fastball, but it looks like it's moving side to side a lot. And I know his four-seam has kind of looked that way in the past too. Part of it is the arm slot. Part of it is maybe a little bit of his extension and stuff. But that thing, something about that fastball really just looks deceptive right now. And I think it definitely has to go with our hypothesis, which I talked about in the pregame, is you have this year in the MLB, the sweeper, and Lance Brozdowski, credit to him. He's the one who came up with this idea, and I'm now kind of just propagating it and looking for it in the Mariners. I'm kind of tasking myself as I don't know if anybody else in the Mariners community is looking at this, but this is something that I think we all need to be looking at a whole lot more, especially since this organization is so cutting edge on the pitching development side. When you throw a fastball, most guys, typically if you're just to go out and play catch, you're going to get behind the fastball and you're going to throw it, right? Now, the Mariners teach this, side arms, the low arm slot, which means they're coming to the side more than they're coming over the top. And that already kind of toys with the batter's ability to perceive where that pitch is coming in, and it makes it harder to see. That's why Joe Ryan is an elite pitcher, despite not having a prolific looking fastball in all of the numbers, because what he is doing at 94, 95 miles an hour with the low arm slot is much better. It's still more deceptive than if he was to do something else and come over the top. And the same thing, let me know if this makes sense in the chat down there. But then with guys like Michael King, who became a top 10 to 15 pitcher at points in the last 2 years, especially, health has been an issue, but guys, Michael King is kind of one of the faces of this. Instead of getting right here, and Chris Bubich is another one, instead of getting behind the baseball, he gets on the side of it, and everything comes out of this cutter shape. Cutter is basically you're throwing a fastball with the slider grip. And it ended up being a really good pitch. Corbin Burns ends up winning the Cy Young a couple of years ago, throwing all these nasty 97-mile-an-hour cutters. I think that Emerson Hancock is one of these pitchers that the MLB is going to see quite a few of this year. It's going to be a huge rise in people using the cutter grip, getting on the side of the baseball to throw all their pitches, which with Michael King, the way it worked is not only did it make his fastballs better, it found a happy medium of both getting swing and miss and inducing weak contact, preventing hard contact, but it also helped them getting into the breaking balls more, helped disguise everything and then play off of each other better. And it's just the kind of this happy medium. And I think it's a renaissance. Last year, Lance Barzowski called it the year of the pitch mix before the year, which ended up coming true. It's not the year of one particular pitch. There's not one particular pitch like the sweeper that's on the rise right now. The sweeper was on the rise. It kind of evened out last year, actually went down a tiny bit for the first time, even though it was going way up. Watch Lance Barzowski's video on the depth of the sweeper, and you'll understand this a whole lot more if you want more in detail. But Emerson Hancock is doing the extremely modern thing right now, getting on the side of the baseball, as far as I can tell. Now, this is very specific, but Mariners TV so far, the last 2 days, the first 2 days of spring training, watching their camera, I don't think that their camera is quite, the resolution is just not quite good enough where I'm able to make out the hand as the pitch is being thrown to see specifically where the hand is gripping the pitch as it's being thrown. I do when I watched a little bit of the Dodgers today on MLB TV, and I watched a little bit of the Cubs. Both of those camera angles, the camera resolutions, the camera quality was well enough that I could see the hand better in terms of where it was when the ball is getting thrown. That has to do with, kind of the frames per second, the stuff with the camera, the resolution. But that's something that I'm going to be looking for the regular season. I'm sure the Mariners camera quality will be, much better when we get to the regular season in T-Mobile Park. And I'm excited to see, is this Lance Barzowski kind of prophecy true? Because a lot of his have become true in the past few years. Are we going to see all these pitchers? And the Mariners are always on the cutting edge of the pitching stuff. So they're going to be the ones, if anybody's doing it, they'd definitely be part of that. Getting on the side of the baseball to throw these, to throw their fastballs and to do their breaking balls. And it helps them not only, find a happy medium with their fastballs, and pitchers like Emerson Hancock, who have struggled with their fastball, a whole lot in recent years. And it's like, yeah, you have some good breaking balls. Like Emerson Hancock, definitely most confident in, his sweeper and his slider, I'd say. Even like last year, I would have said his changeup, although StatCast doesn't have him throwing that today. There was some pitches that, like his slider and his sweeper, they can look like a curveball, I think. You have his slider, has like 3 inches of horizontal break. Like today, that thing, is not going horizontally. His slider looks like a curveball. Almost looks like his changeup. Maybe this slider that StatCast was tracking was just his changeup. And he did, I swear, I think he did have a curveball at one point. Definitely has something that looks like a curveball. But I do think that the grips in pitching could play a huge role this year. Teams are obviously trying to get ahead of the curve, be on the cutting edge of this stuff. And to me, this is going to be the year. I called the Corbin Burns year where he won the Cy Young. I was like, okay, maybe this is the year of the cutter. It wasn't just him. It was like Kenta Maeda was having a whole lot of success with the cutter. Hyunjin Ryu, I think he might have even been an all-star for the last time using his cutter that year. So this, to me, could be the year, not of the cutter, but of the cutter grip. Another part of that is that the sliders, you'll have some sliders that just don't move as much. And Emerson Hancock, his slider today, moved it had 5 inches of induced vertical break. Then it had 3 inches of induced horizontal break. Both of those fit within a really narrow window on Baseball Savant, where it's like, okay, most pitches are moving a whole lot, vertically and horizontally. Even the fastballs, especially the breaking balls, but you're not going to find many things. You do find certain pitchers have sliders. Funny enough, sliders. Conventional wisdom says, oh, a slider, that thing is going to move more. It's going to slide. But certain pitchers are having these sliders that do not move as much. They stay within like the 6 inches of vertical and horizontal break. So they're not moving as much, and you almost call them a gyro ball, where it looks like they're breaking a whole lot and then they don't. And those are, definitely part of this whole cutter grip for all the pitches type of theory. I think Dane Dunning was doing this yesterday. The stream was lagging, so I don't think my explanation made it up the way I wanted it to. And I think Emerson Hancock was doing this today. I'm hoping that Josh Simpson, the reliever from the Marlins that we got last week, is going to be doing this as well. And I'm excited to see who else is doing it. I don't think like the Logan Gilberts are going to do it. I don't think Brian Wu is going to do it. George Kirby, probably not. That would be a pretty big tweak, although we've seen tweaks, and he's a guy who there's some interesting conversations about, what is he going to do? Is he going to bring the splitter back? Maybe you don't want the splitter back and you want him to just find the success that he had last year, getting 14 strikeouts and no walks with like sinker, four seam, and slider, something like that, right? Maybe a more basic pitch mix is good for him. There's going to be interesting debates, and the Mariners pitchers are all interesting enough where they could be the guys doing this. I mean, would it be wild or what if Luis Castillo came out with a cutter? He's pitching in the WBC, so it would be crazy. At least I'm pretty sure he's pitching the WBC. My brain is, I've got so much going on in my brain right now that I can't even remember. But anyway, I think it would not surprise me to see. It wouldn't surprise me to see like Emerson Hancock and Dane Dunning doing this. It would surprise me to see any of the main 5 Mariners pitchers: Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo. I don't think any of them are going to be doing anything crazy because they're all good enough that they can survive the way they already are. I mean, I don't think the entire MLB is going to change. I don't think everybody in the MLB is going to do this, but I think certain pitchers, like the ones on the bubble, like Emerson Hancock, like Dane Dunning, who haven't found a whole boatload of success already, maybe this one tweak makes them a dependable back into the rotation guy, the way that they haven't been before. Dane Dunning maybe had a flash in the pan of that at one point in Texas. But let me know what you guys think of this theory down in the comments. It's definitely a whole lot to think about, and definitely go watch Lance Brozdowski's video on The Sweeper is Dead, sort of, is the name of it. If you want to know more about this, let me know what you think in the comments below, if this makes any sense whatsoever, because that's the most interesting thing I think going on in the spring training. The other thing is that there's some OBS challenges, and the Mariners, I think, won a couple of them later on in the day today. I thought that was pretty interesting. And that's definitely one of the only things like that's super duper like, okay, we got to watch this in spring training and see how this goes, because we're not going to form new opinions about Cal Raleigh or Julio Rodriguez in spring training, and barely, like, even if they struggled or won MVP of the WBC, that doesn't tell us too much about what we're going to see in a 162 game sample size against major league pitching. Anyway, moving on to just some of the other players that were interesting today. Definitely so Victor Robles, we want to see the streaky contact hitting just start to look good, and he rips a hit right off the bat to start the game. Rips it right at the shortstop. Let's see what the exit velocity was on that, because shortstop definitely kind of bobbled it a little bit. So 83.6 miles an hour in the infield. Shortstop, really had to kind of extend to get to it. And Victor Robles ends up with a hit. Not the most solid piece of contact of all time, but great. As far as grounders to the shortstop go, you can't really ask for too much more. Then Cole Young works his first walk. Wisdom hits a single, scores the Mariners' first run. Connor Joe grounds out, but he also advances some runners. Andrew Kinsner walks on like 4 or maybe 5 pitches. I thought his plate approach today was pretty good. First we've seen of him at the plate in spring training. Then Mastrobuoni first pitch grand slam. Leo Rivas, another single. He is swinging a really hot bat to start the year in spring training. Going to make it even harder for a guy like Mastrobuoni to make the roster. We don't expect to happen, but and even Leo Rivas, could be in danger of missing the roster if the Mariners see like, oh, we need Luke Raley on this roster, because you're not going to be able to keep Luke Raley on the roster and Leo Rivas most likely, especially if Colt Emerson makes it. There's going to be a whole lot of juggling that you have to do, and Luke Raley is the guy without options. Colt Emerson, you can have him start in AAA Tacoma just fine. He hasn't even been in the majors yet, so options aren't a problem. Leo Rivas has at least one option. I know that there's the option to send him down. Luke Raley is out of options, so if Luke Raley doesn't make the big leagues, you don't have the option to put him in Tacoma anymore. Either he's in the big leagues or he is off the, you have to DFA him, and another team will pick him up off waivers. That's not going to affect, like, you're going to have Dom Canzone on this roster. Dude hit 300 last year. He's one of the best platoon bats in the game. It's not going to affect, like, having guys like that on the roster, like guys that are going to play a whole, a meaningful everyday or like solidly side of the platoon type of role. It will affect more of the guys like, it's going to affect more of the Leo Rivas types. Anyway, you have Emerson Hancock does get the 4 strikeouts we predicted. I predicted like 9-3 Mariners. Looked pretty good after the 5-0 in the first inning. End up losing 10-5. End up giving up a whole lot of runs, trying out a whole lot of different pitchers, guys that we haven't heard too much about. And there was some stuff I liked. There was some stuff that I was like, not so sure what I was seeing. Like Nico Talash, right? 3 pitches and a hit and an out. So, right, just a whole lot of events, 2 events on 3 pitches. Stephen Wraith, 5 pitches, 2 outs. Nothing else to speak of too much. That's a guy who I would like to get on the podcast because he has an interesting experience growing up in Seattle area, going to UW, and then coming over to the Mariners in kind of late in the draft. And then Bizzardo, 19 pitches, a walk, an out, gets into some long at-bats, nothing too much to speak of. Gabe Spire gets a full inning worth of work done with 6 pitches and strikes somebody out. So, 3 pitches to strike somebody out, 2 other, to get outs on, those, and then only 1 pitch that wasn't wasn't efficient toward an out. Pretty crazy for Gabe Spire. Really, with him and with Andres Munoz, who let in a run, gave up 2 hits on 19 pitches, also struck 2 guys out, 1 inning of work. It seems like he was just throwing his slider in the zone more, and guys were not worried about swinging all over the place against Andres Munoz for the first time that you've seen in since last spring training, probably, because it's the 3rd inning of a spring training game. This is the lowest leverage Andres Munoz has had the opportunity to pitch in since last spring training. So this is the first time you've ever seen people without the game on the line being just willing to hack at Andres Munoz pitches, and there ends up being 2 hits and a run scored. But it is what it is. And 3 hard hits as well. But that's just, again, because people were willing to hack at him. Peyton Alford I just did not see too much of him. Maybe it was just me. I didn't get a read whether anything good, anything bad, anything to speak of. But he is one of the only, was kind of the most interested in the pitching side. A guy that will be playing the WBC for the Mariners, Gio Zuniga. Gio Zuniga is 6'5", 230 pounds. Looks like he could play. He looks like a high school offensive tackle, darn near. You could add a weight to him and make him a NFL guard if you gave him 70 pounds. And he has a whole lot of power. Like, you can see the power comes from the glutes and from kind of the big legs, big glutes, not too much in the midsection. I mean, but he's 6'5" and 230 pounds, and it looks like he's distributed well and huge, broad shoulders. Like, he looks like an offensive lineman. Gio Zuniga, he clearly has some velocity behind his pitches too. I see why the Mariners like this guy. I see why Columbia likes him enough to have him pitch in the WBC. He looks like an absolute project. He pitched in the majors in 2023 and 2024 for the Cardinals and the Angels. I do not see anything further right now with him, but he's somebody who, if you just find a way to unlock him, you could have an interesting pitcher in him. I mean, if you just see him, without seeing the back of his jersey, you could tell somebody that that's Jose Ferrer, and they would believe you because that's the type of body, the body type this dude has. He's bigger than Jose Ferrer. Definitely not as good of an athlete. Not quite, because Jose Ferrer is a rare breed of athlete as a pitcher and a mover on the mound, as scouts would say. But he ends up giving up 2 hard hits, giving up 4 earned runs, 2 outs on 18 pitches, a strikeout, and a walk. I just see, like, either years down the line, or I wouldn't be surprised if during the summer months, this guy Gio Zuniga has he hasn't allowed a run in a month. He's made these tweaks, added this new pitch, and now he is one of the best pitchers in the Mariners minor leagues. Like, that would totally check out. That would totally make sense to me, just based on the physical profile. And see a little bit of Luke Stevenson at the end. Oh, another guy who I want to talk about, just athlete of the day, Brennan Davis. And that last, the very end of the game, pop fly that is going to end the game for the Mariners, and gets dropped, and Brennan Davis hustles, and he's running it out. So he ends up rounding first and, diving into second, keeping the game going so Luke Stevenson can get an at-bat today. That was pretty cool. And I don't know, Brennan Davis is clearly at least a quad A athlete. At least he's better than a AAA athlete. Might not be a major league athlete, but he is somewhere in that range. So he's interesting. Carson Taylor with a nice little piece of contact, slapping it into the gap for a hit as well. Mariners Rule 5 draft pick. Patrick Wisdom gets a little bit of action and gets a hit in the first inning in that rally, and an RBI. It does strike out twice. Good to have some right-handed depth in the first base, ecosystem. And I think that's kind of the main stuff. Nothing too much else to speak of. The stream is buffering out, so I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. But appreciate you guys tuning in to the Mariners postgame. I know games with Mariners players in them, something like that. But yeah, go ahead, subscribe.